coming up. Srinjoy, do stay with us. But let's also talk about, for people, what is something to look forward to in the coming days. If you were planning to buy a Mini Cooper, but the hefty price tag was a big speed breaker for you, or if you love Scotch, but the price tag caused a heartache, or if you love British fashion, but fear that the price may rip your wallet. If the answer to any of these is a yes, then there's news for you, which is that all of this is going to make you very happy. Your favorite British luxury cars, British fashion, British spirits, British cosmetics, and even British chocolates are all set to get cheaper. Now, India has signed the historic India-UK Free Trade Agreement on its own terms. As Union Minister Piyush Goyal once said, for India, not deadlines, but national interest is paramount. This free trade agreement took 3 years and 14 rounds of negotiations. And on the explosive details that we have access, let's break down what is going to get cheaper for us and what do Indians gain from this pact. First, let's talk about what gets cheaper. The British luxury cars, the tax on imported cars is set to drop to 10%. Under a quota-based system, currently the import duty is over 100%. So this means that the Aston Martins, the Land Rovers and Mini Coopers will be soon getting more owners here in India because it gets cheaper. Under the free trade agreement, India has also decided to lower the tariffs on Scotch. From British whiskey to gin, the tariff will come down to 75% from 150% currently and is expected to further reduce to about 40% over the next 10 years. So bottles of Glenfiddich, Johnny Walker, the Macallan as well as Bombay Sapphire, etc. are set to save you lots of money as per reports. The prices of the premium British spirits could come down by 20 to 25%. It's not just that, even imports of Marks & Spencer products, the Body Shop, skincare and Cadbury's premium lines are also expected to become more affordable. So get ready for some sweeter deals that could be expected in just the next few days, next few months as it comes in. A lot of these products are going to get cheaper. Remember, they have been favorites for many in India for a long time now, and now it only gets cheaper because this free trade agreement between India and the United Kingdom comes into effect. So that is the impact that the consumers, you and I, are going to have. So let's get back to why the India-UK FTA is also being touted as a reverse colonization. Here's how the Indian wares are all set to invade the British shores. Let's get you what has now become very, very important and easy for India. This does mean that we are going to have an enhanced access to the UK market. We spoke about several products from the UK that are our favorites that are going to get more affordable, which means that we're going to have enhanced access to the UK market. Apart from that, there are going to be no duties on 99% of the Indian exports, which means the numbers, the exports from India are only going to get bigger. Apart from that, the Desi goods will invade the UK markets. From textiles to leather to gems and jewelry, auto parts, furniture, sports goods, all of it is going to get easier for India to export. Apart from that, for Indian garments as well, it's going to be a big relief because we're going to see Indian garments and textiles with the current duty being about 8 to 12%. So we are going to see a spike in that as well. In fact, it's virtually a bonanza for Indian exporters. It ensured duty-free access for nearly 99% of Indian exports, which means we're going to have a bigger market for the Indian products in the United Kingdom. What does this mean? Let's unlock approximately 23 billion in new opportunities, particularly for labor-intensive sectors. Let's tell you how this is going to actually help the Indian exporters. Any goods that they want to export from India to the UK, this trade pact is something that's going to be a very, very welcome move. It's going to be a bonanza for them, and let's tell you why. On the marine products, the tariff earlier was 20% and it has now become 0. So that is a big change. Apart from that, textiles and apparel, remember previously as well, textiles, there were exports taking place, but now it becomes easier. The market gets bigger for India. Earlier it was, after the FTA, it becomes 0. First it was, of course, 12%. Apart from that, in chemicals as well, there was an 8% tariff. It is currently there, but now with the FTA agreement, it reduces to 0. So these are the welcome moves that have been taken, but for the food processing sector as well, which is currently at 70%. And this is one of the biggest points which has been raised. The food processing sector from 70% tariff reduces to a massive zero on about 99.7%. There are a few food processing sector from the food processing sector that will not be spared this, but almost 99.7% of it will have 0% of tariff on that. So that's going to be huge. But viewers, let's also talk about the Kohinoor Trade Pact, how it was not signed in a hurry. It has in fact taken almost 3 years. It was in the offing for a long time. There have been multiple discussions, so this was not an easy decision to take, not an easy negotiation. And India has made it clear that we're going to always keep India first. So it was not a rush timeline. After almost 3 years of negotiations is when the pact has been signed. It began, in fact, in 2022. That's when the negotiations had really began. After 14 rounds of negotiations is when the decision has been made. The first FTA was with a G7 nation. So this becomes a significant milestone for India as well and will set the stage for the other G7 nation perhaps. The aim is to double the bilateral trade by 2030. And there will be zero duty access to 99% of the Indian exports, like we mentioned, on why this is going to be huge for the traders in the country. So it opens up opportunities worth $23 billion, a big win for the Indian farmers as well, because there will be duty-free exports on 95% of the agricultural products as well. And there is no need for the UK social security payments for 3 years for 75,000 Indian workers. So apart from that, for Indian workers as well, this becomes a welcome sign. And 1,800 plus chefs, yoga experts and musicians can now work in the United Kingdom each year. So that becomes the biggest part of it. Let's listen into what the Prime Minister had said. The Prime Minister said that this really heralds a new era in the India-UK ties. Listen in.
ये समझौता मात्र आर्थिक साझेदारी नहीं बल्कि साझा समृद्धि की योजना है। एक और भारतीय टेक्सटाइल, फुटवियर, जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी, सी फूड और इंजीनियरिंग गुड्स को यूके में बेहतर मार्केट एक्सेस मिलेगा। भारत के एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस और प्रोसेस्ड फूड इंडस्ट्री के लिए यूके की मार्केट में नए अवसर बनेंगे।
My colleague Rishabh is joining us on the broadcast with the details. Rishabh, good morning, and new chapter for the India-UK ties. We've actually broken down the details of what this means. But this is, of course, going to bring in a lot of revenue, expected to bring in revenue, and like the Prime Minister said, bringing in a new era of prosperity.
Well, see, this is one of the most comprehensive, free trade agreement that India has signed in years. And this is the first comprehensive trade agreement that UK has signed post-Brexit. This came after, as you were mentioning, 14 rounds of negotiations, as well as 3 years, more than 3 years. When the FTA was, initiated, Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Then, two conservative prime ministers came in. Actually, the day Rishi Sunak took over the premiership of UK, the Diwali of 2022, was actually the deadline that both the sides thought will be for the FTA. Rishi Sunak came, Rishi Sunak left. Keir Starmer came in, and he has been in office for almost 1 year now, more than 1 year for that matter. And that's when India is signing the FTA. This showcases that how long, how detailed the negotiations would have been. Both the sides would have ensured that their interests are respected well in this FTA. Remember, this will also lay ground for the further FTAs that we might sign with EU, US, or other countries. But having said that, this is a very, very beneficial FTA, and you have let out all the details that we have seen, be it on alcohol, be it on fashion, apparel, or for that matter, medical goods. But having said that, why is this important? Geopolitically speaking, Pratibha, if we talk about this FTA, such FTAs, if it happens between countries, it will create pressure on Washington as well, that if they do not agree to the terms of the global order, they might be left alone.
Okay, all right, Rishabh, thank you for joining us with